The air crackled, energy pulsed. From the shattered sky, the entity emerged. It was a swirling vortex of colors, a chaotic symphony of light and sound. Reality itself warped in its presence. The ground beneath them heaved, mountains crumbled into dust, rivers changed their course, twisting and turning in defiance of gravity. The familiar world was dissolving into a surreal dreamscape. Panic surged through Blaze's team. Their formation, once strong and unyielding, faltered under the onslaught of the entity's power. The very fabric of their reality was unraveling. The entity's power intensified, tearing at the bonds between them. A blinding flash of light, a deafening roar, and then silence. They were scattered. Blaze gasped, struggling to regain his footing. The world spun, a dizzying kaleidoscope of colors and distorted shapes. Gone were his comrades, replaced by an eerie stillness that pressed in on him, suffocating him. He stumbled forward, calling out names that were swallowed by the oppressive silence. Each step felt heavy, as if he were wading through thick, invisible mud. Fear gnawed at the edges of his resolve. The altered landscape was a treacherous maze. Jagged fissures snaked across the ground, spewing noxious fumes. Trees twisted into grotesque shapes, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. Blaze pressed on, his senses on high alert. He could feel the entity's presence everywhere, a palpable weight that suffocated the air. The world pulsed with a strange, unsettling energy. He had to find his team, but more importantly, he had to understand what had happened. What was the entity, and why was it doing this? As Blaze journeyed, he began to notice patterns amidst the chaos. The swirling colors of the entity seemed to coalesce around certain objects, whispering tales of forgotten times. He touched a towering monolith, its surface etched with strange symbols. A jolt of energy surged through him, bringing with it fragmented images and whispers of ancient battles. These were echoes of the entity's past, remnants of its power leaking into the present. They were clues, Blaze realized, pieces of a puzzle that could lead him to the truth. Exhaustion gnawed at Blaze. He was no closer to finding his team, and the entity's presence seemed to grow stronger with every passing moment. Despair threatened to overwhelm him, and then it struck him. He couldn't fight the entity with brute force. It was too powerful, too unpredictable. He needed to understand it, to find a way to harness its power. It was a risky gamble, perhaps even foolish, but it was the only chance he had. He had to find a way to work with the entity, to turn its power against itself.
Blaze.
He whirled around, his heart leaping. It was Kira, her face etched with relief. One by one, the rest of his team emerged from the shifting landscape. They were battered but unbroken. Each of them had faced their own trials in the fragmented reality, and they had emerged stronger, more united. They shared their experiences, piecing together the puzzle of the entity's origins.
It feeds on chaos. Our fear, our doubt, it makes the entity stronger.
They stood together, a united front against the swirling vortex of the entity. Fear threatened to consume them, but they clung to hope, to the belief that they could overcome this. Blaze stepped forward, his gaze fixed on the entity. He could feel its power thrumming through him, a chaotic symphony of energy. But beneath the chaos, he sensed something else, a flicker of vulnerability. He closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind, trying to connect with that flicker of vulnerability. For a moment, everything was still, and then a surge of power, raw and untamed, flowed through him. It was time to fight fire with fire.